Platinum Games is a developer most famous for melee-based action-adventure titles, such as Bayonetta, Nier Automata, and Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. These games are often regarded as flashy and ostentatious in design, but what happens when they apply that design philosophy to a third-person shooter? The result is a little game called Vanquish, an action-packed, hyperkinetic sci-fi shooter that's as fun today as it was over 14 years ago. Vanquish is, as I mentioned, a third-person action shooter from Platinum Games, directed by the masterful Shinji Mikami, maker of some of my favorite games of all time. His influence runs all the way through this game, claiming he took inspiration from an anime called Kashan, an anime I had no idea existed, but after playing this game, I'm definitely interested to check out, mainly because I dig the robot dog. But getting back to Vanquish, the start sees a rogue Russian force commandeering a US-controlled solar energy space station and harnessing its power for more destructive means. To set an example of their destructive power, they destroy the city of San Francisco in cold blood, threatening to do the same to New York City if the US doesn't surrender within 10 hours. And if movies has ever taught us anything, is that the US does not negotiate with terrorists. So they send a battalion of space soldiers to reclaim the hijacked space station, and that's where we step in. Sam Gideon, an agent from an experimental weapons research agency, who joins the mission to rescue the creator of the space station. Plus, it's a great opportunity to test the new experimental combat suit. As always, I'd really appreciate a like on this video and maybe subscribe if you haven't done that yet. Let's get back to it.
Time to hit hard and make him regret it.
So, straight off the bat, the first thing you notice about Vanquish is quite obviously the Iron Man suit, or augmented reaction suit as it's called in the game. The suit allows for some crazy combat maneuvers through its jet engine propelled mini boosters. Eventually it'll have you power sliding across the room like a seasoned rock god. In addition to the frantic rocket sliding, the suit has been equipped with a time altering ability that slows down time to a crawl, allowing you to line up your shot to deal massive damage in the blink of an eye. This is the bread and butter of the Vanquish experience, by stringing flashy boost slides with bouts of occasional time dilation and heavy targeted damage. It's a loop that rings clear: you are playing a Platinum Games title. Somehow, they managed to translate that bombastic flair usually found within their melee action games into a third-person shooter. The real question is, how does it actually play? Well, on paper, it sounds like we're all geared up for an action-packed, adrenaline-fueled power trip. In actual fact, it's not as straightforward as that. But before I get ahead of myself, allow me to make like my favorite Overwatch support character, Lucio, and let's break it down! So, in combat, what exactly do you have access to? Not much if I'm honest. Apart from 2 grenade types, you get about a dozen weapons to chop and choose from. It's a rather meager offering if you ask me, but does well enough to tick all the boxes for all combat ranges. You have your basic options such as assault rifle, pistol, sniper, shotgun and RPG. But you also have more futuristic options such as the LFE gun, which fires a giant damaging ball of energy, or the lock-on laser, which pretty much does what it says on the box. You hold down the fire button to lock on and release to fire multiple lasers into the sky, which crash down on your target. These weapons will occasionally drop from enemies or can be found in supply crates and gun racks. You can have up to 3 weapons equipped at any time, so you're always prepared for any combat situation. The gunplay itself is pretty damn fun, weapons have a sufficient punch to them, and going for enemies' weak spots rewards you with a satisfying feedback that communicates you're hitting them where it hurts. Going for these weak spots become more important when facing larger enemies. With some of these bosses, it becomes necessary to target these points to effectively stun them and open them up for big damage. Sometimes you'll need to circle around them to get to said weak points, and that's where the rocket boosters come in. When the gunplay and movement combine, taking down a boss becomes an extremely fun and frenetic endeavor. Something weird I noticed is that to spice up the gunplay, they constantly throw weapons at you, encouraging you to switch it up every now and then, which is completely normal, but at the same time, they've implemented an upgrade system which contradicts that idea. Let me explain. To upgrade a specific weapon, you need to have it in hand when picking up an upgrade module. This will send it up one level at a time, granting things like max ammo or increased damage, up to a total of 10 levels I believe. Funny enough, there's an alternate way of upgrading, and that is to pick up a weapon that you already have equipped. But the weapon needs to be at max ammo capacity in order for the pickup to act as an upgrade. So if you are even one bullet short of its maximum capacity, it'll simply replenish your supply. I guess the system is there to incentivize the player to maybe use whatever gun is sitting in your back pocket collecting dust. Now I know there's a few of you out there who have min-maxed their intelligence and already spotted this glaring oversight. For the rest of us, let me spell it out for you. If my assault rifle is at 50% ammo and I come across another one laying on the ground, I can pick it up to max out my ammo reserve, or if I simply swap out my assault rifle for any one of the weapons on the floor and return to the fresh one, I now have a maxed out assault rifle and can use the old 50% one as an upgrade module. It basically acts as a free upgrade and I get max ammo. Yeah, it's a bit of a drag, but it's actually silly how effective this exploit is. You can probably have a maxed out weapon by the end of the first hour if you so choose. I'm not proud to admit this, but I only figured out this exploit about an hour before the end of the game.
Get out of the way! Out of the way!
Sam, get out of there!
Onto some of the pros and cons. I like to use a segment to discuss some of the interesting mechanics and design choices made by the developers that can be seen as either beneficial or detrimental to the game, depending on how you feel about it. Let's start with the Augmented Reaction Suit, or the ARS for short. Now, this is no doubt the selling point of Vanquish. Having the ability to power slide across the battlefield, all the while popping in and out of slow-mo and simultaneously pulling off crazy acrobatics sounds like an incredibly fun prospect. In practice though, the limitations imposed by the developers restricts that power fantasy by ditching fun in the name of balance. What I mean is, there's a limit to how much boosting and slow-mo shooting you can do, indicated by this bar, and when it depletes, the suit overheats and you have to wait for it to cool down to use your abilities again. Also, whenever you take too much damage and your shield breaks, time dilation automatically kicks in and runs the bar down until it overheats. Now, I completely understand the reason behind this design. If they give you free range over the boosters and time manipulation, your character would simply go to town on the enemies and the game would provide very little challenge. But I believe the penalty for overheating to be a bit too harsh. Let me be clear, it's fair in that you are intended to use the energy sparingly and take cover occasionally to prevent overheating. But I want to zip around on my knees everywhere I go, because it's infinitely more fun than running. Plus I have rockets on my suit and what am I doing behind cover? Look, with the amount of power this game gives you, it's easy to overcommit and find yourself in the open with no juice to reposition. And waiting that few seconds for the bar to refill feels like an eternity. On the other hand, if you're willing to put in the time, overheating will never be an issue. Just look at this player who's put over 800 hours into perfecting the movement. Now, I'm willing to bet you don't intend to spend that much time with the game. In fact, most of you will play the game once or maybe twice before moving on. And that brings me to my next point. Vanquish only runs for about 5 hours. It is an incredibly short experience, but at the same time, it never overstays its welcome. Apart from the weapon upgrades, there's not much progression beyond that. And the short campaign comes to a close before gameplay becomes repetitive. But don't you worry about getting bored, the story is as entertaining as a B-grade action hero movie. It's not exactly what you'd call well written, but it provides enough cheesy entertainment to keep you hooked all the way through. One weird choice they made was making the two main characters equally cocky and macho. It was like having two characters vying for the same role of tough guy with hoarse voice. Kinda like having two Marcus Phoenixes on the same squad. It's just too much testosterone. Even still, it is fun to watch these two hotheads bicker.
They did quite a number on you, huh? We could use you as a test subject at DARPA. What the fuck, man?
14 years later, Vanquish remains a unique third-person action shooter. When I think of a spiritual successor, nothing comes to mind. It's genuinely astonishing that no one out there has tried their hand at this formula. And what's even sadder is that we didn't see a sequel to this one-of-a-kind experience. If you're looking for a satisfying hypermobility power trip of a shooter, and maybe you're just bored of some of the more derivative experiences that's ever abundant these days, or maybe you're like me and missed this one when it came out, actually do yourself a favor and just Google the releases of 2010 and you'll understand why, then I highly recommend giving this one a go. But be warned, it is incredibly short and can be completed in one lengthy sitting. For some, maybe that's just exactly what you want. Also, keep in mind, you're probably not playing this one for the plot, but you'll be too busy laying waste to giant robots to even care. For that reason, I'm giving Vanquish a respectable 4 out of 5 stars. Alright, that's it for this one. I hope you liked the video. I done something a little different. I thought maybe I'd try a review style video. It's still pretty much like my other stuff, but hey. Let me know what you think. Would you be down for more review style videos? And also let me know what you thought about Vanquish. If you've ever played it, if you maybe think you're playing it now, there's nothing on the market like it. But that's it for me. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.